Hello guys, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be going more down the investing route, talking about what are some good sets to buy into right now. And I'll be honest, not a lot has changed. If we're talking Scarlet and Violet, again, I would definitely emphasize stay away from the lower tier sets like Stellar, like Temporal, like Paradox, especially Obsidian, and especially SV Base. Oh, and Shrouded Fable, of course. Yeah, they're at a lower price point, but typically there is a reason they're at a lower price point. It's because they just are worse. 151 definitely is still going to keep getting reprints, but that doesn't mean it's a bad investment. Paldean Fades, I think, is great. Prismatic obviously will be amazing. I think there's going to be a Costco drop coming soon. So once the market kind of adjusts to see the new supply, maybe it's worth buying in at 80, 60 to 80. I think you're actually in a golden range to buy a big position. I wouldn't hate that. Even if Prismatic ends up dropping to say 50 due to insane reprints, which personally I don't necessarily see happening, but it definitely could. Um, I would still be picking up at 60 or 80. I think in the long run they'll be doing fine. And again, I would definitely avoid Black and White, Destined, just because Destined has been going absolutely insane, which is kind of crazy. But definitely stick to 151 Paldean, maybe Paldea Evolved. But I still think Sword and Shield is insanely well positioned for the time in the market that we are at. Now, a lot of these have seen movements. I think Lost Origin and Fusion definitely have seen a good amount of movement. But let's just go through a lot of the Sword and Shield sets. And as always, we're just going to remove this kind of bottom half. We're not going to look at Shining. We're not going to look at Vivid, Champion's Path. I really don't think it's worth investing in these bottom tier sets simply because they don't have alt arts and they don't have a really cool chase. Starting with Crown Zenith, you guys already know this is one of my favorite sets of all time. I still think the ETBs are a great pickup. If you don't have the money for the ETBs necessarily, I think booster bundles are not a horrible pickup either. Something that has actually come up pretty recently as well and has been restocked in vending machines are some things like these tins, the Galarian Moltres. I think it's probably the best one just because the Shinji Kanda promo is there. That might be sought after, later down the road. But Articuno and Zapdos aren't bad pickups either. Sorry about that. That is my cat meowing in the background. But yeah, I think ultimately, like, anything Crown Zenith is going to do pretty well. If you can find these kind of bigger collection boxes that have a lot of packs, like the Sea and Sky collection, it's good for the number of packs. It's just unfortunate because it takes up an insane amount of space. But I mean, the pack per price is still pretty good compared to the ETBs. Just ETBs are the most sought after, product when it comes to a specialty set, especially. But yeah, Crown Zenith I think is kind of obvious. Sorry, you're gonna hear her meowing this whole time. She's a very talkative cat. Silver Tempest I think is still insanely undervalued. I mean, you have Blaziken, better Blaziken than the Chilling Reign. You have a Rayquaza card, and you have a Lugia V card. Insane. I mean, this Lugia alt art is like an insane card. Like it doesn't get enough love. Really, really good stuff. Booster box still 380, still under that $400 mark. The fact that this is the same price as Paldea Evolved and it's so much older is still kind of insane to me. The ETBs are reaching around $100. I still think the booster bundles are not necessarily a horrible pickup either. If you want to kind of go down in terms of cost basis, like let's say you don't have $300 to just blow on it or $400 to blow on a booster box, I think bundles are a great alternative to kind of make your money work in fun ways. So definitely not a bad idea. Lost Origin, you guys already know for me, Lost Origin is a top 5, probably top 4 set. This Garatina is a generational card. I mean, it looks absolutely stunning in person. I recently graded mine. I mean, you guys know I got it a 9, but I don't even think I'm going to sell it. I think I'm just going to keep it, and I'm probably just going to buy a 10 at some point. I don't mind keeping a 9 as well. I think I just love the card. I don't know. It looks very cool. But we'll see. Maybe I'll sell it towards a 10. We'll see. But I think even beyond that, you have an amazing trainer gallery. The set is amazing. $600 I think is actually still pretty low. Can you shut up for 1 second? Jesus Christ. This cat is going to be the death of me. I think the PC ETB is actually in a pretty good spot. I mean, the fact that the PC ETB for Lost Origin is around the same price as the Silver Tempest one is a little surprising to me. I actually think Lost Origin is a better set. I also think the ETB looks a lot better than the Silver Tempest one. I mean, this all red Garatina. Tell me that doesn't look fire. I am surprised to see the booster bundles at $100. I mean, not necessarily super surprised, but I am surprised because I remember buying these for like $20 way back in the day. Same with the ETBs. I don't think these are a bad pickup either. If I were going to choose between the bundle and the ETB, though, given these prices, I think I would choose the ETB. And the ETBs did get a huge reprint towards the end of the Sword and Shield era, so I think these are actually pretty well priced. I think ETBs Lost Origin are probably one of the best items I would recommend right now. If you're not willing to drop 600 on a booster box, definitely check out Lost Origin. I think top 4 set. Pokemon Go, this shit is horrible. I'm sorry. We're just not. Yeah, I mean, if you're gonna buy anything, buy the Pokemon Center exclusive Elite Trainer box. I had to buy one for my PC ETV collection, but yeah, let's just avoid that set. Astral Radiance, really underrated set, honestly. I'm still a little surprised that Machamp V is the most expensive card. I understand because of due to the rarity compared to trainer galleries, but I do think the Misty and the Garchomp, they're very good cards. I think they're gonna actually appreciate pretty well. I have a single booster box of Astral Radiance and a PC ETB. I think they're well priced for where they're at right now. I wouldn't really be like scrambling to buy them at this price. It's not bad. It's also not the worst. I think if anything, I would be buying the PC ETB. Maybe buying a box if you don't have any exposure to Astral Radiance, but I wouldn't really be like honing in on Astral. Brilliant, I think, is probably the 5th best set from Sword and Shield. I mean, you have amazing Charizard, Umbreon and Sylveon. Obviously, the trainer galleries aren't as sought after compared to other cards of the similar Pokemon. But I mean, Mimikyu, Umbreon, Sylveon, Arceus, Charizard. It's just all good options, and you have an elite trainer gallery here. This is absolutely insane. I mean, you have Eevee, you have Vaporeon, Flareon, Jolteon, you have a Zekrom. It's all around just one of the best sets from Sword and Shield, and I think when it came out, people really felt that way. Still though, the PC ETB only $150. I think that's actually still a good pickup. Booster box still only $420. I think this is a solid pickup, guys. Sword and Shield is still undervalued. You might be thinking, why is he pushing Sword and Shield so much? Isn't it better to buy some of the cheaper stuff from Scarlet and Violet? Well, let me tell you right now. A year ago, I was looking at Sun and Moon at the exact same way. I was thinking, ooh, Sun and Moon it's just a little too expensive for me. It's just, I know I get that it's older, but like, I don't know. I just don't really want to buy into Sun and Moon. I had the opportunity to buy Unbroken Bonds, Cosmic, Unified at like pretty good prices, Hidden Fates as well. I passed up on it because to me, I don't know. I just didn't think it was worth it. But looking back, I definitely wish I had bought those sets. I think those sets were severely undervalued. And maybe not undervalued, but like they were reaching a maturity point, right? They were getting ripe. And you want to focus on sets that haven't reached their peak yet. And obviously, Sun and Moon wasn't printed as heavily Sword and Shield, but I still think the analogy kind of continues. I mean, like, look, the same cycle's been happening in Pokemon for decades at this point, right? We know that older boxes just get more expensive due to scarcity. We know what happens. Buy older boxes. Yes, buying the current stuff at high volumes is also a good idea, but you have to hold for longer to see good gains. And I don't think there's anything wrong with diversifying a bit and putting your money backwards into some of these sets that I think may even see more price movement sooner because, again, Scarlet and Violet is going to get printed more. Anyway, let's keep moving on. Fusion Strike. Gengar VMAX, obviously one of the best cards from Sword and Shield. Espeon, I think, is still actually pretty undervalued. Great Celebi, just overall great set. I think this is probably the 3rd best set of a Sword and Shield era. PC ETBs, I think, are actually pretty undervalued considering where the booster box is at right now. You might think that that's insane, $350. But yeah, Fusion Strike, PC ETBs, I think, are actually pretty good collector's item to have. I think the ETBs look amazing. I actually ended up buying 2 of these because I noticed the booster box, went crazy in price. And so, you know what? I said I'll buy another one because I am a firm believer in PC ETBs. I think these are going to be elite investments into the future, personally. So I would definitely advocate for them. But if you don't have the money for that, I think, $187 for an ETB is definitely not a bad idea. Build-in battles aren't horrible either. I would say get your hands on anything Fusion Strike. I think Fusion Strike is one of the best sets from Sword and Shield, similar to Crown Zenith. Celebrations. Now, this is interesting because I actually don't really like Celebrations that much. I think it's a pretty set, all things considered. You kind of got a lot of reprints of older cards. You do have some fun, kind of Pikachu cards, but these are so easy to pull that it's not really worth much. You can see the set values for these are just absolutely abysmal. But nonetheless, the sealed product has been doing pretty crazy stuff. The UPC has been doing amazingly. The PC ETB that I bought at like 200 has doubled recently. So has the normal celebrations ETB. It's worth putting on this list. It's pumped a lot though. And I don't know if you're necessarily going to see the best gains over the next, 2 years, but you will see a lot of gains within this next year. Once we hit 30th anniversary, celebrations will become more sought after, and we're actually seeing that some of these cards are gaining value. So obviously the Greninja Gold Star promo that comes in the regular ETB is doing pretty good numbers right now, but also even the reprint of this Mega Rayquaza is hitting pretty good numbers. This Charizard, like these are iconic arts that are extremely expensive and are kind of gate kept, right? Because the original of those cards are just harder to come by. And so these can almost serve as a proxy for people that really only care about how the card looks. They don't really care about the stamp that much. So do I think it's a horrible investment? Not really. I think if you're gonna buy, now would probably be the time, and then I would probably sell around 30th anniversary. I think I'm gonna sell my celebrations ETBs once we get the 30th anniversary set. And I'm assuming hype for this set specifically will reach all-time highs. But I mean, if we see what Generations did, I believe it's XY. So Generations is kind of the celebrations, right? For the 20th anniversary. I mean, the ETBs have done absolutely insane numbers. And so will Celebrations do the same thing? Perhaps, right? I do think Generations is a much better set overall. Like this Radiant collection is pretty legendary. There's a lot of cool cards here. And I think compared to Celebrations, I think Generations is a better set, but I don't think it's a bad investment at all. As always, I always advocate for buying the PC ETB. I think that is always the best investment, but if you're not super confident, I think this is not bad. Maybe pick up some of these tins with the cool promos, the Dark Sylveon or the Lance's Charizard, but overall though, I don't think it's my favorite investment from Sword and Shield. And my favorite investment is probably the next one on this list, which is Evolving Skies. Do I need to sell Evolving Skies anymore to you guys? I mean, let's be honest. This is a generational set. It's probably the best set of the Sword and Shield era. It is the best set of the Sword and Shield era, and it might even be the best set ever created in all of Pokemon. I know that's a crazy thing to say, but I think with Rayquaza and Evolutions, Dragonite, I mean, you have some of the most popular bonds all in one, set. We'll probably see another set, in the next 10 years that will maybe top Evolving Skies because Pokemon seems to know what they're doing. They seem to keep upgrading their art. Maybe in 10 years we'll have holographic cards that like scream at you with sound effects. I don't know. But like, look, Evolving Skies is a timeless piece that thankfully has only come out 5 years ago, which means it's still in the realm for us mortals. If you don't know, Team Up ETBs, which came out in Sun and Moon, are reaching like 2K, 2.5K. The booster boxes, I believe, have sold for around $10,000. And so I think the Evolving Skies, ceiling has not even been reached or close to reached. The PCTBs, as always, I think are an amazing investment. These are, as always, more scarce than both the booster box and the ETB. Obviously, you get less packs. Obviously, less people are opening them, but it doesn't necessarily matter. Usually, these are going to end up being more scarce because I think more of the booster box are printed, and people are also going to keep the booster box sealed. I think this is just kind of pure speculation because we don't have exact numbers, but I do think over time, I think PC ETBs are going to end up being the most scarce item. And you might worry about liquidity and whatnot because it is harder to find than a regular stuff. But to me, Pokemon Center ETBs, they signify the entire point of sealed collecting. It's that it's a box that you appreciate for the box. You're not necessarily wanting to open it or rip it open. Like I have an Evolving Skies booster box. I'm not dreaming of opening that box anytime soon because I know if I opened it, there's no way I'm even getting anything out of it, right? I'm never opening my Evolving Skies booster box. And I think a lot of people are in that same boat. And so I think overall, I don't really see a world where the PCETB is easier to come by than the regular booster box. And maybe I'm wrong, but I do think scarcity drives price. I think demand drives price. I think demand for Evolving Skies is insane. And I think the scarcity for the PCETB is, you know, it's the most scarce object that you can get. And it is highly desirable. Plus, I believe the PCTBs for Evolving Skies actually look better than the regular ETBs. If you have both ETBs, God, they look so good next to each other. They're great for displaying. But as always, I love shilling PCTBs. You guys know me. I've gone through the data extensively on this channel before, so definitely check out those videos if you haven't seen them. But regular ETBs, I think, are also great options right now. Really anything. If you can get your hands on even just single packs, build and battles, like 3-pack blisters, it doesn't matter. Even sleeve booster packs, anything Evolving Skies, buy it and hold on to it. Guys, it's a generational set. Anything that has Evolving Skies packs in it will be amazing in the long run. I don't really need to sell it much more, but yeah, I think Evolving Skies is amazing. Let's move on to Chilling Reign. Now, this one's a bit of an underdog. I do like Chilling Reign in terms of like the Moltres, and actually, no, I don't really like Chilling Reign. I don't even know why I said that. I was just trying to be nice. I really hate this set. I think this Blaziken is really overrated, and I think a lot of the Pokemon in this set are just not that popular. Moltres, yeah, it's a cool looking art, but Galarian Moltres, is it actually going to have staying power? We don't really know. Calyrex, Shadow Rider being one of the higher alt arts is a little concerning to me, because Calyrex is not a very popular Pokemon. It's also a DLC Pokemon. A lot of these are DLC Pokemon, or they're like Sword and Shield specific Galar Pokemon. Now, a lot of kids did play Galar, and so maybe in the future this will end up being pretty popular. Who knows? But overall, for $420, I think I'd rather buy Brilliant Stars. I think I'd rather buy Silver Tempest. I'd rather buy Crown Zenith or Lost Origin. I just don't see anything from Chilling Reign that indicates that it's a must buy, and it's really the only like Sword and Shield set that I don't have a booster box in, with alt arts, right? I obviously don't have Vivid, Champion's Path, or sorry, Darkness Ablaze, or Rebel, or Base. These are absolutely horrid sets, and I would never advocate you buy any of these. But I have all of these in booster box form or ETB form, except for Chilling Reign, or I have the PC ETBs, which I think are actually not badly valued. If you want to buy something from Chilling Reign, I think the PCTVs are the way to go, as always. But yeah, I think for this price for a booster box, I don't really think it's worth it. It is a deep set. Just in terms of the set value, like I'm surprised it has such a high set value. Actually, maybe it's not that deep. I don't know. I'm trying to find some kind of silver lining to Chilling Reign, but I really can't find it. I don't think this set is worth it. Maybe the Blaziken is actually a good chase card. I am kind of glossing over the Blaziken. I know that's a big chase card. So if you do believe in it, yeah, you know what, buy Chilling Reign. I'm not going to tell you it's a bad investment. I don't think it's the worst thing ever. I just think personally you have better options. And in fact, I would even put Battle Styles above Chilling Reign. I know it has like half the set value. I know it's so counterintuitive to say that, but I genuinely think that a Sleeping Tyranitar alt art is just a better chase card than, Blaziken. And to top that off, I think the Empoleon V is very cool. Urshifu, yeah, definitely not a popular Pokemon. There's not a lot of alt arts in this set, and it was printed a lot. So I would understand that if you're hesitant to buy it, but I think for $200, you're rivaling a lot of modern sets that just came out. And for a set that's that old and actually has a pretty good chase card in the Tyranitar V, I don't actually think Battle Styles is a bad buy right now. I think it might even be a good buy, all things considered. But yeah. What do you guys think about Sword and Shield? As I said before, I'm not really going to talk about Shining, Fates, and below. I don't really think these are worth buying right now. Ultimately, I think Sword and Shield is one of the strongest eras we've had. I think it's stronger than Sun and Moon. I think it's going to age absolutely amazingly. And I'm not saying don't buy any Scarlet and Violet. Scarlet and Violet obviously is the one I have the biggest positions in, just because it is it was very cheap for me to get into it. Like I bought a case of Temporal, Stellar, Paradox, uh, some other sets for pretty good prices. But ultimately, I think Sword and Shield is kind of being overlooked right now. It is making some good moves, but I still don't think it's at the potential highs that it could reach, especially given what we're seeing with what's happening with Scarlet and Violet. If at any point the market starts focusing on Sword and Shield, I mean, the scarcity is already there in terms of there's never going to be more product of this out on the market from Pokemon themselves. So this means anytime someone rips Brilliant Stars, that is just one more gone from the entire supply, right? Um, so in terms of pure ranking, I think I've went through this many times, but we'll go through it just one last time. Brilliant, Lost Origin, Fusion Strike, Crown Zenith, and Evolving Skies. Those are going to be my top 5 picks. In terms of value right now, I think Crown Zenith, Battle Styles booster boxes, and actually Lost Origin ETBs are pretty good price, and then obviously Evolving Skies ETBs, as well as Brilliant Stars at booster boxes. I think those are all kind of well positioned items right now. Perhaps Fusion Strike PC ETBs. I think all of those are kind of at a good price ratio for you to get your foot in the door for Sword and Shield. And guys, I would really encourage you buy some Sword and Shield now before it's too late. You're gonna wish that you had, just like how I wished I bought Sun and Moon booster boxes back then. But hey, let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. Make sure to like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys later.